Hurry Up Tomorrow is the most controversial film of 2025 so far. This is a film, I think, for two reasons, is going to be met with a lot of criticism. One, it's a little pretentious. Maybe more than a little pretentious.
You were hurting yourself, and you were hurting everyone around you.
And two, it's incredibly weird. In fact, I wish I could have stopped like 95% of people from seeing this before they saw it just to warn them about the movie, because it is not what you would expect at all. It's a movie that is about an album, obviously. The Hurry Up Tomorrow album from The Weeknd is really good. So this movie obviously comes out, you think either it's an album movie or it's a movie with the album kind of in it, and it's neither, but also both. And then you throw in some psychological horror. And I don't think that works for people at all. But that strangeness is what kind of makes this film interesting to me. I didn't hate it, personally. I think this film kind of works in a weird way. Obviously, we can talk about that one scene. Nothing is explained. And that is one aspect of it I think that works very, very well. It's one thing that probably people won't like, but it's a hallmark of Trey Edward Schultz's films. He's one of the most interesting filmmakers working right now, and he wrote and directed this. One of his staples is making a movie where you would expect it to be one thing, and then it's very much not, and it's never explained why. It Comes at Night is a perfect example of this. It looks like a monster movie, and then it's not at all. And it's never explained. Nothing is explained in the whole movie, and it's just a nightmare of people hating each other. And I loved it. This one is not that way, but it doesn't explain anything here either. Jenna Ortega's character in this is seen burning down a house in one of the first scenes in the film, and then driving for like the first half. And you're like, who is this? What is going on? Why is she doing this? And you never get an answer. Never. You get hints at her backstory. You get hints at answers. And I found that more interesting than if you had a character sit her down and say, what are you doing? Where are you going? I'm going to a Weeknd concert because he's the only one I trust because he's so real and raw in his music. That would suck. But it's hinted at that that's the case. It's all very murky. It's all very odd. And I think that works for its benefit. This is a movie that if it was overly explaining all of these little elements, it would be boring as shit because it's not anything particularly special. It's a movie that feels like it has influences all over the place.
My love's fabricated. It's too late to say
But then there's also scenes with Barry Keoghan, who's like his manager, who pretends to be his friend, but is actually kind of just enabling his bad behavior and then trying to get money out of him. And that's a pretty clear staple character in these types of movies too. It's strange, is what I'm saying. It's very strange. And I kind of liked it for that strangeness, especially when Jenna Ortega at one point finally gets what she wants. She gets The Weeknd all to herself. They have a magical night, and then in the morning he's like, yeah, bye. You know, this is a one-off. Obviously, I'm rich and famous. I can have whoever I want, whatever I want. This is a one-off. And she freaks out, hits him with a bottle, and then knocks him unconscious. And there's this amazing, genuinely incredible sequence when he's walking through his subconscious. There's hardly any dialogue. There's hardly any music. There's this really dark and atmospheric tunnel he's walking through where he sees a woman that freaks him out and he runs away. He goes to this fire and there's a young version of himself and he just looks at him and starts crying. And it's this great moment with no dialogue that explains so much about who The Weeknd is, or this character that he's playing. He's running from his own subconscious. He's terrified of himself. I mean, the whole movie, he's addicted to calling his ex-girlfriend and being like, I love you, and then being like, you bitch, I hate you. And then he does something similar to Jenna Ortega, where he's like, I love you, never leave me, and he's like, bye. It's this push and pull that in his own subconscious he's struggling with, and he doesn't know how to get out of, or he doesn't want to. So that pushes Jenna Ortega to have the worst scene in the movie, where she plays his own music for him to try and wake him up, to try and make him honest again. And it is so cringe. It really hurt me because I was enjoying the movie up to that point. And the scene where he's just walking through his subconscious does the same thing, where he's finally waking up to who he is or who he was. And then you have a scene where Jenna Ortega's like, let's listen to Blinding Lights. This is a synth pop anthem. But if you listen to the lyrics, they're sad. And I'm like, now I can't listen to that song anymore. I just don't understand why this scene is necessary. This is the most pretentious scene in the movie, bar none, by like a mile. And if it wasn't for this scene, I don't think people would hate this as much. I really don't. I think this is the scene where it loses you, where it loses everybody, because it is so on the nose. It is so stupid to watch Jenna Ortega prance around to Gasoline talking about how epic it is, but also it's sad. Like, yeah, I don't care. I legitimately think you could cut that scene entirely, because there is a moment before she starts prancing around where she's like, I just want you to be honest with me and then I'll set you free, because he's all tied up. And then he's not, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna burn you. You could probably just cut out all of the song shit and just have that. Oh, I need you to be honest. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm gonna burn you because you're not honest. And then Barry Keoghan comes in and all that happens. And then he has the scene where he's singing, what's the song at the end of the album? To fight left to give. That one. My life's fabricated. That one. He's finally being honest with himself, and Jenna Ortega lets him go, and then he's changed. And that works. But you have that awful scene when it's like patting The Weeknd on the back about how awesome he is. And there's moments throughout the movie where people are like, you're a legend, you're incredible. Jenna Ortega is a Weeknd super fan. You can tell because for half a second her screen has a picture of The Weeknd as her lock screen, and you see it for a little bit of a second. Okay, yeah, she's a super fan. Got it. I don't need her to prance around listening to his songs. Let's just not have that.
I know this was all really intense, but I'm not trying to hurt you.
Hello, little darling.
He's not here.
Hey?
He's not here.
There is a idea for it, which is her trying to force The Weeknd to be honest with himself, but I feel like that was already happening. Barry Keoghan wasn't allowing it. All the people around him, the yes men, were not allowing it. They're totally fine with him just being dishonest and popular and famous and successful, and who cares? Who cares about this bitch that you're being horrible to? Whatever, dude. And then he has to realize that, to be a good person, to be better, to, absolve himself of his sins, he needs to change. That's the whole crux of the film, whether it's about The Weeknd or about Abel himself. It doesn't really matter, but that is the change the character needed to have, and that's the change I think he does have. But then you just get these moments where it's like, look how cool I am. Like, I'm sexy and I'm famous. I can bag whoever. And that sucks. No one wants to see a rich, famous, powerful person who is like, I'm so cool but also sad. Like, yeah, everybody is. Except we're not rich and famous. Bye. So it's difficult. If you haven't seen it, I would go in with that mindset that it is going to be a difficult watch and probably difficult to swallow in a lot of ways. Just maybe fast forward, if you can, through the scene when Jenna Ortega starts dancing around to blinding lights. If you're in the theater and she gets up and she says blinding lights, stand up, walk to the bathroom, wait 10 minutes, maybe take a dump, maybe play Angry Birds or whatever game you got on your phone now. I don't even know. Is Angry Birds still a thing? I'm unk. And then come back. And then come back and then watch when Barry Keoghan shows up, and you'll be good.